Next presentation, we are going to give you all a high-level summary and recap of our 2021 Advanced Energy Economic Impact Report. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Jilleah Welch. She is the Research Associate at the Howard Baker Jr. Center for Public Policy. She was the lead report author on this for us, so she will be presenting the findings. And then Matt Murray, the retired director of the Howard Baker Jr. Center for Public Policy, will be available during the Q&A portion. So Dr. Welch, I will let you take it away.
All right, thank you. So for sake of time, I'm just gonna jump right in here. So next slide, please. This report provides an update on the economic impact of the state's advanced energy sector. The baseline report was published in 2015. The last update prior to this one was released in 2018. And our analysis shows that the advanced energy sector has continued to expand in Tennessee at a robust pace. We see strong growth in various measures of economic activity, including advanced energy employment and earnings, the number of advanced energy business establishments, sales tax revenues, and state gross domestic product associated with the AE sector. And importantly, the AE sector has grown at a faster pace than the overall state economy. Next slide, please. The AE sector is a 1.5 trillion global market and is growing rapidly. Advanced energy is any technology that makes energy cleaner, safer, more secure, and more efficient. In the report, we provide a complete definition, but examples include electric and plug-in hybrid cars, lightweight composites, bioenergy, wind and solar technologies, etc. And states have commissioned reports to measure and nurture the advanced energy economy because of its importance to economic development, including rapid growth and high earnings. Next slide. In defining the AE sector, the AE economy, it crosses traditional occupational categories, similar to how emerging green industries span sectors. And there's no standard government accounting system to measure the advanced energy sector. So consistent with the previous reports, we use a review of studies in other states to define the AE sector, and we have listed some of those studies here. Next slide. The North American Industrial Classification System, which are called NAICS codes, are a common classification system that identifies industries by grouping similar firms together based on their production processes. And we use the same 62 four-digit NAICS codes that, in this report as we have used in the previous reports to capture the advanced energy economy. These 62 four-digit NAICS codes represent both current advanced energy activity and future growth opportunities in the advanced energy sector. And the NAICS codes naturally fall into the 5 different industry groups you see here. So advanced energy utilities and construction, manufacturing, advanced energy information, professional, scientific, and technical services, and advanced energy other services. Next slide, please. Consistent with the previous reports, we use the most recently available data from the U.S. Census Bureau's county business pattern data, which is from 2019. This is the most comprehensive database available in terms of coverage of firms. It includes the number of establishments, annual payroll expenditures, and the number of employees. And the data is available at the state level, the metropolitan level, and the county level. And since we're using data from 2019, this is a pre-COVID time period, so there are no pandemic impacts embedded in the data. I do want to mention that there are disclosure issues, and those are common with county business patterns data, but those are at the local level. So for example, if a small number of firms represents an industry in one county, data will be suppressed for purposes of confidentiality. There have been changes in how the data is reported when there are disclosure concerns, and I'll get into that a bit in a minute. But very importantly, disclosure issues only occur at the local level and they do not occur at the state level. Next slide, please. Here we have the statewide economic impacts of the AE sector in Tennessee. We're showing impacts in terms of employment, annual payroll expenditures, and number of establishments. In addition, we have shown the growth here in those outcomes since the last report. We see strong growth in AE employment, earnings, and number of total establishments. In total, there were 393,756 advanced energy jobs in Tennessee in 2019. That corresponded to $25 billion in annual payroll expenditures, and there were 20,340 advanced energy establishments in the state. Total AE employment in the state grew by 9.9% since 2016 or the last report. Payroll spending also grew by 9.9%, and the number of total AE establishments grew by 11.9%. The growth in AE employment is nearly double the total job growth in Tennessee, which was 5.1% over the same time period. Here we also have impacts by the different industry groups, in addition to total impacts for the state, and almost all subsectors showed improvements between 2016 and 2019. Also, the average annual wage is $63,586 for the AE sector, which is 33% higher than the 33% higher than the statewide average of $47,688 for all jobs in Tennessee. Next slide, please. So this slide and the next two show advanced energy employment, inflation-adjusted payroll expenditures, and the number of establishments for each of the 5 sub-industries within the advanced energy economy for 2013, 2016, and 2019. And I included these just to quickly show the growth. So consistent with the previous slide, this figure shows that the number of advanced energy jobs has continued to grow. Next slide, please. Likewise, here we see payroll expenditures associated with the advanced energy sector, and those have continued to grow over time as well. And again, we see here that the number of advanced energy establishments has continued to go up for the different subsectors as well as in total for the state. Here we have the estimated impacts in terms of state GDP and state and local sales tax revenue. Together, the advanced energy sector in Tennessee generated a total of $45.8 billion in state GDP in 2019, which represents 12.2% of total GDP for the state. Also, output generated by the advanced energy sector grew by 8.2% since 2016, or the last report. For perspective, the advanced energy economy is larger than the state's durable goods manufacturing sector, and it's about the same size as the professional and business services sector. In terms of sales tax revenue, in total, state sales tax revenues stemming from advanced energy activity totaled $1.1 billion, and local sales tax revenues totaled $344.4 million in 2019. Next slide, please. Here we show impacts to employment, annual payroll expenditures, and number of establishments for the 10 metropolitan areas in Tennessee, in addition to, again, showing the growth since the last report. Please note again, there have been changes in how disclosure issues are reported in the data since the last report, and that is what is driving the negative growth that you see here in employment. So that's a change in how the data is reported. In the report, we go into detail about this, but again, it's not an issue at the state level. The state numbers are complete. They do not have any disclosure issues, and they aren't affected by this change in reporting that happened to happen since our last report. The MSA level analysis does help to identify where economic activity for the AE sector is occurring. For example, the Nashville MSA continues to be the largest contributor. As you can see, it's at the top, producing 30.5% of the state's AE employment. In the Nashville MSA, employment, advanced energy employment totaled 119,924, and there were 7,314 advanced energy establishments. Importantly, all 10 MSAs experienced growth in payroll spending, and 8 of the 10 MSAs experienced growth in the number of advanced energy establishments. Again, changes in how the data reported didn't impact the state level numbers, and the statewide advanced energy employment increased by 9.9%. Next slide, please. In addition to looking at the advanced energy economy at the state level, and the MSA level, we also looked at activity at the county level. The top 20 advanced energy counties accounted for about 65% of total advanced energy employment in Tennessee. Here you can see the top 10 counties, including Davidson, Shelby, Hamilton, Knox, Williamson, Rutherford, Sullivan, Anderson, Sumner, and Blount. Davidson County and Shelby County together account for 25% of the state's advanced energy employment. And while advanced energy activity is concentrated around metropolitan areas, advanced energy activities extended across, all 95 counties in the state. So in conclusion, this report shows that the advanced energy sector is continuing to expand in Tennessee, and the rate of growth is higher than the growth rates for all industries in Tennessee. The advanced energy economy is creating more and more opportunities for the business community and state residents. And with that, we can take questions if we have time, or I understand if we need to move on for sake of time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jill. And,
Thank you, Jill.
Matt, I know that you are retired, but you also helped us launch this economic impact report from the very beginning. Jill has been involved in it as well, but I'd love to hear more of your thoughts and your feedback as it relates to the advanced energy economy and the growth that we are seeing, particularly in Tennessee.
Courtney, I think I'll make the point that Jill made in the presentation, and that is the advanced energy sector in Tennessee is outperforming the overall economy and is providing earnings that are substantially above the statewide average earnings across all sectors of the economy. So it's a prime candidate for focus in terms of economic development activities to further take advantage of this sector. It's a huge sector globally, nationally, in Tennessee, and it's going to continue to grow at a very robust pace. So to the extent we can capture more of this moving forward will be to the betterment of Tennessee business and industry, households and workers in Tennessee, and the tax coffers of state and local government. And Courtney, let me make another point that occurred to me as we were going through the presentation, and that is that the title of this refers to impact, but I want to clarify that this is not a traditional economic impact analysis. We're not looking at multiplier effects here. We're not looking at supply chain effects. I could digress on why that's the case. Its large part is the nature of the data. But we are missing a significant share of the advanced energy activity here as it ripples across the state economy into supply chains, and then the ripple effects of the so-called spending multiplier. We don't take that into account here. So when you've got an employee that works for an advanced energy enterprise, when that employee spends their paycheck in the local community, it effectively lifts all sectors of that local economy, the retail trade sector, the service sector, eating and drinking establishments, and so on. None of that is directly or formally accounted for in this report. So I think that's really quite significant. Because those multiplier jobs and those supply chain jobs can be expected in total to equal at least the direct impact of the advanced energy sector itself. So just to point that it's a very rapidly growing sector. It pays very relatively high earnings, and the ripple effects that we do not formally account for in Tennessee are really quite significant.
Great news all around, and that is an excellent lead into our next panel about the Blue Oval City. So Dr. Matt Murray, Dr. Jill Welch, thank you all very much for joining us today and continuing to partner with us on this very, very important data, which this year was sponsored by the University of Tennessee and the Tennessee Valley Authority. So I want to make sure that we recognize and thank them for their support as well.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.